Hello everyone, welcome to the very first class for QuickBooks online training. This is course 1. It's how to get started in QuickBooks. We're going to run through some things, some very simple things on how this all gets started and how to move forward and use QuickBooks for your business. Now this class right here is your free class. So if you love it, if you want to keep going, then sign up. We'll have information later. Sign up to complete the rest of the course. So let's go ahead and switch over to the handout. So I have created a handout that will also go along with the course once you have watched the video, or you want to download it and watch it again so you can make notes. You can do all that, and we're going to switch over that handout real quick so you can see what that looks like. And you can see here it is our course 1, getting started, and we're gonna read a couple of these notes here real quick. So first of all, there is a link here. QuickBooks has created a test company so that you can play around with it and see if you like it, or if you have questions on how it works, make sure it's the right fit for you. I believe it's probably the plus version. We will talk about versions later in this conversation, but that would be your test drive version. So in the handout, it will have this link, or you could copy it directly off here, type that in, go visit. So once you get past the test drive, once you open that up, I'll show you that in just a minute, there are other things you need to decide. You've tested it out, you want to buy the product, you then have to decide which version you want to buy. So I am showing you the online version today, and there are 3 or 4 different online versions, 4 I believe at this point, 4 different online versions depending on how big your business is, depending on what you need to use it for. There are also desktop versions. If you really don't like the cloud, you can do QuickBooks Desktop for Mac and Windows. I am certified, well-versed in all versions, so if you need to have more questions other than online, feel free to reach out and talk to me. I can help you out with that. Alright, but we're going to look at online today. So online has many features that makes it better than desktop in some ways. Desktop is good for other ways, so it really depends on your company, but if you're choosing online, here's why some of those things are important and nice to have for the online. So first, they have easy access to data. So when you're working with somebody like me as your accountant in the business, it's easy for me to log on, it's easy for you to log on. We can log on at the same time, we can work on the same database, as opposed to a desktop where you kind of have to share files or purchase some extra storage somewhere where people can log in differently that way. It also has, the online also has an app for your tablet, your smartphone. All of that connects seamlessly, and it's a great platform when you have a business that's outside of the office. Even if you don't have multiple people, it's nice to have it outside the office if you need it. And then same, I covered the no transfer thing. Then Intuit also has the ability that they're hosting the site. They are doing all the backups. You don't have to worry about storage and when your last backup was or where you're going to put that backup. So that's a nice feature also to have. You can create automatic things like invoices for customers, and you can time them, send it out different times. You can do multiple accounts on the same transaction. You can add apps in that help you with things that QuickBooks doesn't do, or maybe QuickBooks doesn't do it as well, and so you want to hire a third-party service. For example, donation receipts are one, PayPal connects, all those third-party software connects seamlessly with online. And then you can also set up reports to automatically send out to somebody every month. So for example, I have a client that I automatically send out their accounts receivable report every day, like the first of every month. So I don't have to think about it. As long as the data is entered correctly, they get an updated report every month, and it works well. Alright, then you have things like connecting it to your bank account. Desktop does have the option of connecting to your bank account, however, it's a little clunkier, a little more frustrating. And online, it works very seamlessly. It automatically imports things. Don't get scared though. It will not put it in your general ledger until you tell it it's okay. But it does it very easily, very quickly, without you having too much work on it. Then you also have the option of time tracking. QuickBooks just acquired a payroll time tracking software. It was T-Sheets. It's now QuickBooks Time. And they work well together, so you can bill out your time to customers as well as keep track of your employees for payroll. And the list goes on. There's many things that QuickBooks does. And here is, I just pulled this off of the web today so we could look at kind of prices. These are the 3 different versions. They do have another version which is so very basic. I don't think it's very helpful for many businesses, but it is something you could look at if you're still not happy with these options. And here's kind of the difference on them. So the Simple Start is a very small, just bare minimum invoices and bank accounts, and you can have I think 3 users on this one. And then on your Plus version, of course, it's a higher functionality. This one does include your time tracking. It includes your inventory. This is the most common version because it has most everything small businesses use. And then the advanced version is for things that go past your caps. So on Plus you have caps like how many customers you can have and how many vendors you can have and how many chart of account ledgers you could have. So advanced releases you from those caps, but also allows you to have more users. So if you have multiple accountants and multiple business owners that all need in the system at the same time, you will notice that Advanced has a 25 users as opposed to just 5 for Plus version. And Advanced also has more business knowledge reports. So more than just your profit and loss and balance sheet, your basic reports. It has better analytics reports and helps you understand your business better. So those are the 3 options. As of today, those are the prices. And if you sign up for me, so if you'll notice, they've crossed out the expensive, the higher price and giving you a lower price. I believe this is a 6-month price, and then it will go up to the higher price. If you were signed up with me, because I'm a pro advisor, I can get you that lower price for a longer period of time. It used to be infinitely, but they do keep going up on my prices as well. So I can't say forever, but much longer than 6 months is what the current promise is. Alright, so the next thing is importing data. So you can import data into the software if you have like a QuickBooks desktop version and you want to import it into online and continue using your business. You can do that. However, it is a little tricky. Even though I've done it several times, sometimes I still mess up and I have to do all those steps again. So QuickBooks does recommend that you have someone like me who's a pro advisor assist you in getting that set up. Now, if you've never done QuickBooks before, you're a brand new business or completely switching software, whatever the reason, you can just turn on the software and just start entering and getting set up. And a lot of those steps we're going to go through today on what that means. I am going to show you some of the functionality on the software. So if you were to import, you were to attempt it yourself, there is a setting over here and it says import data and import desktop data. So let me show you why it's a little tricky. If you're not doing QuickBooks for sure, you have to bring in basically a spreadsheet, Excel spreadsheet for each type of thing. And if you're going to do the import data, they do have a video that will walk you through it. You can attempt it on your own. One of the tricky parts that I have found is that it will not import from a Mac. So if you have QuickBooks on a Mac, you have to convert it to a Windows system, and then from the Windows system, it needs to be the most recent version, and then you can upload it to online. So there are quite a few steps to make sure it all functions well. Alright, and then After we get the import done, we want to make sure we set up our company correctly. So up here, there's a gear icon up here on the top right, and this is where you start with all your settings. So if you go over here to the left, there's this place called Account Settings. And in the Account Settings, you'll notice there are several options on things that you can use and set up. There we go. It's taking a moment to think. Okay, so under the company information, you have an option to upload a company logo. If you have a logo you want on all your invoices and information, you can add in your company name, your EIN numbers. You can tell it which tax form to use, and it may not be extremely important to decide what tax form to use for some things, but if you're doing a nonprofit, for example, if you put in here that it's a 990 form, then your report should show up as the correct report. There we go. And then anything else you can put in here, your email address, your mailing address, all of those things will show up later on reports and invoices and those things that you want your customers to see. All right. So I told you there were usage limits. So this is a pro version here, and this shows your usage limit. So if you have billable users, chart of accounts, tag groups, at this point this shows you how many you're allowed to have. Once you hit that limit, it will not let you add any more, even if it's deleted. So even if you have created excuse me, two income accounts and you delete one because you realize you had two, it still counts that in your counting. So you would have to rename that account to stay under your numbers, your usage numbers, and then it does show you that you can upgrade and get unlimited. Okay, then after we look through the company usage, you can move on to sales. Under sales, these are the defaults that you want to happen in your software. So you can have, for example, your invoice terms could be net 30, they could be 15, they can be due upon receipt, whatever you want your customers to pay you timely. You have different options on when to print, whether you want to print later, send later. So printing is printing actually physically on paper, or you could create a PDF file of it. Sending later means it's actually going to email that out for you from the system. You can also say select none, and we will follow through some of those defaults later on why that's important. You can also create custom fields on those invoices. You can create discounts and tips and all the things that you want. Tags are something we can discuss later as well. So if you were doing inventory, you can turn on and off your inventory information. Late fees, progress invoicing. So for example, one of my clients is HVAC system installer, and so they will quote the entire job, say $20,000, but then they only bill out 20% at a time. So progress invoicing would allow you to create the estimate and then create those invoices at the time you actually want paid. All right, and then you can have messages. So if you're emailing out your invoices or estimates or any of these things, you can create a default email so QuickBooks will remember that when you're ready to hit send. You can also, they've started this new thing where you can create reminders. So like say for example your invoice hasn't been paid in 30 days, QuickBooks can automatically send out a reminder for somebody to pay them. Okay, and then you have different ways to set up your statements, creating those reports. All right, then we're going to go down here to expenses. And same thing with expenses. You can have multiple different settings. showing different items, tracking bills, so that you will know, how in your accounts payable system how much longer you have to pay those. If you use a purchase order system, they have purchase order options, and then your email messaging defaults as well. Now we're moving on. We don't care if we save those, we're just looking at that. Okay, moving on to advanced. Now advanced is advanced accounting information for your company. So for example, if your fiscal year starts in January, like most businesses, you could put it there. I do have several, especially nonprofits, are famous for maybe July 1 as their fiscal year start date. So you could change that here. You can decide if it's an accrual or cash-based system, and you can close the books. So for example, if it's been audited or you have filed your taxes, you don't want to go back and mess up those records and then have problems later. So you can go ahead and close the books at a certain time so those can't be changed. All right. And then again, here's another way to set up what company it is, nonprofit or S Corp, whatever it is that you have. And then chart of accounts, how you want to see those chart of accounts, whether you want to have account numbers. Most accountants like account numbers, most small businesses owners don't care, and we'll look at that later as well. And then you can track classes. Classes and location is very helpful if you're a project-based business where you're building houses, or if you're a nonprofit. I use classes because it helps you with your donation buckets and what money comes in and out of things. You can also ask it to pre-fill forms. So every time you write that check to Google for your storage, it would automatically pull the right general ledger account, so you don't have to remember every time what that general ledger account is. Okay? If you are a big project-based business like building houses, they actually have an option for projects which works very differently than classes, but you can still run like a profit and loss statement and keep track of all those expenses. We will also explore those details later. All right, and then you can set up your time tracking, what your currency is. If you live in the United States, that's the default. If you lived in China, you could change it. I actually have a company who has United States, based in the United States, but sometimes they have exchanges overseas, so they want to keep track of those exchanges, and you can turn that on. QuickBooks will help you with multi-currency. Now, the trick with the multi-currency is once you turn it on, you cannot turn it off, so you really want to make sure this is not something you play with just to test it out. It really is truly something you're going to need. All right, and then because QuickBooks is around the world, different people see, date formats, number formats very differently. Customer labels. So for example, you could change this to donors or clients or whatever you want to call your customers. And then there's a few more other special things you can look at. So that's your advanced company options. And once you have that all done, you can hit your done button and move on. Okay, and then once we have that set up, the next thing you want to make sure is who is allowed to touch these accounts. Who can come in and change things or add things or look at reports, all that. So that would be under Manage Users. So you can add a user, and you'll know normal business users, and then there's an accounting firm option as well. So you can add your accounting firm separately, and for example, I'm a pro advisor, so my default would show up here under the accounting firm, so that because QuickBooks keeps track of my accounts and how many I have and all those things. And so if you had a tax accountant, again, you could add your tax accountant or someone else. All right, so your users, you would add whoever's doing the data entry. If you have an in-house person that it's their job to enter receipts, you can enter the receipts. If you have somebody that maybe is just a management person and you only want them to see reports, you can select only see reports. If you have maybe an employee that's out in the field all the time and they need to track their time, you can do time tracking only as well. Now, company admin can do everything. It can change all those company settings we just looked at, or it can look at anything, basically. They can change it all. A standard user would be somebody that needs special permission for certain things. So maybe, for example, you have somebody that is just doing accounts receivable, so you only want them to see customers, or maybe you have somebody that is only doing accounts payable, so you only want them to deal with bills and stuff. You can limit that to different things, and it does show you here the different items they can look at and see. You can also turn off all the accounting features as well. Okay, so you've got your book set up, you've imported your data, you've set up your company, you have set up the users correctly and invited them. Now they have to accept, so when you set them up, you will actually send them an email invite. They have to accept that, and then they set up a password. So if they forget their password, you'll have to resend them an invite, and I don't have access to that screen at the moment because we didn't actually add a user, but there is a system where you could resend them an invite, they can reset their passwords, all those things, or I think they have an option to forgot password on the login screen as well. Okay, so now we're going to look at lists. So QuickBooks is built on lists. All of the data feeds into kind of different buckets, and then QuickBooks makes all those buckets combine. So if you go up to the gear icon and do all lists, you will see the different types of lists they have. So these are these options, and then they consider over here on the left, they consider your banking expenses and sales as part of the list, but those are just on your left menu option instead of here in the middle. So the first thing you have is chart of accounts. You have recurring transactions, which I use all the time. I feel they're very helpful. Products and services, custom form styles. So once you get everything set up and you want to create a custom invoice, so it has your logo and your words and you want it all your colors, that's where you can edit some of those. Payment methods. So if you want to receive money in different ways, check, cash, credit card, all those things, you can set up those options here. You can set up your terms, which we reviewed before, 30 days, 15 days, due on receipt. All those terms can be found here. Your attachments. So if you start using the app or using your computer to bring in receipts and pictures, bills, invoices, whatever, those attachments could all be found here in one place instead of having to go find each check or invoice that you would have to look up. And then tags. So tags are an option to help categorize things. Now if you'll notice, location and class is not listed here because we didn't turn them on. So if they had been turned on, then they would show up here as well. Okay, so the and then again, the left-hand column is banking, expenses, and sales. So they consider those part of your list option. And sorry, I'm switching over here to the list to make information to make sure I don't forget something. And okay, so we're actually going to look at customers, for example. Go over here to customers, and this is the main screen where you would go to see all the customer information. And this will list everything you have put in as data entry. You will see on here. Now you can create a new customer from this window. You can create customer types. So if you wanted to be able to pull a specific customer, maybe online customer, in-person customer, a donor, or you can create mailing lists, like I want this on my monthly newsletter list. However you want to categorize your customers, you can create that here. They want you to notice also that you can come down here, open the gear icon, and there is an option to include inactive customers as well. So if you'll look at, let's see if they have, don't know this test system well, but if you were to, for example, go in here to Amy's Bird Sanctuary and say, you know, we're not going to use her anymore, or they went out of business, or whatever the reason, you can come in here and make them inactive and say, yes, we're sure. Oh, we can't delete that one because they have some, if you'll notice, there's a balance due and things. So let's see if we can find another one. Maybe cool cars will let us inactivate them. There we go. So they're inactive. So we can go back to that window again with the customers and make sure this inactive is selected, include inactive, and you'll come down here and now cool cars says it's deleted. So their information is still in the system. However, it prevents you from creating invoices, paying bills, receiving money, whatever that information is. And it'll take them off of the list as well. So when you run reports with current customer activity, it can take those people out of your reports as well. And then if you were to go over here and unselect those inactive ones, then you will see that Cool Cars has gone away. So that also helps this list be smaller and only show your current customers. Okay, so that is where we're going to stop today. It's been a lot of information. I hope it has been helpful, and you will notice there's still a lot of information to dig into and understand for your QuickBooks system. So feel free to reach out to me. I will have all of this. I'll have this video recorded and uploaded and the handouts ready. All of that later today. Having a little bit of issue on my website making that work properly, but it will be there. I will email all that information out to you and let you know later. And if you need to get a hold of me between now and later, you will see here's my contact information, email address, Facebook page, all that stuff if you need to talk to me. So thanks for coming out today and watching this class, this amazing free class. And we will hopefully see you later. Also, if you love this and want more, that information will be on all my social media sites, all my email lists, everything on how to sign up for the next class and continue on. Hope you have a great day.